All right, so this is Symphonic AI from Red Room Audio and Sample Logic. It's a collection of orchestral, some synthesis samples, along with this pretty cool step sequencer that allows us to do really cool stuff with, very easily. So for example, in the beginning there, just holding down one key, that's it. Of course, hold on a chord. And you can also, by the way, grab the MIDI that's generated by that and just drag it right out into your tracks, which is pretty cool as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. But before we do that, you won't find Symphonic AI over here in the Libraries tab. You'll find it right here under Files. Head to the folder Instrument, and right here is the instrument, and just throw it right into Kontakt. Let's go ahead and go over the interface, look at all of the options. It looks a little bit complicated here at first, but after this video, you'll understand how everything works. So the first thing to understand is that each instrument, and you can see the instrument presets right here, click here, head over to your preset browser. Each instrument is made up of 4 cores. So this is a core, this is a core, here's a core, here's a core, all right? And each of these cores, of course, produce different sounds. So if I solo one, that's just that. Solo over here. Of course, down here on the keyboard, I can see exactly what I have soloed. And within each of these cores are what's called sources. And you can think of the sources as the actual instruments or the actual samples themselves. So as we can see, we have a cello here, with basses, woodwinds here, strings here, and oboe right here with different articulations. In each of our cores, there's presets for each core, and of course the core is going to include the source and the step, and we can of course just choose different things right here as well. So if I just want to change these cellos here out to something else, I can go to source. Let me solo just that. You can try changing that over to maybe woodwinds. That doesn't change the overall core preset or the step preset, okay? So each of these cores is a combination of your source, your step, and of course, any effects that are on it. So let's delve in a little bit to our cores here. They're all going to be the same. As soon as you learn one, you'll understand. So we'll just solo this one here for now. I can turn off a core right here, turn off the step sequencer, or turn on the step sequencer here. So without it on, that's all we're hearing. We're of course hearing any effects that are on it right here as well. Turn our step sequencer back on. Of course, we have volume. That's pretty self-explanatory. We have low cut and high cut if you want to reduce the low end or reduce the top end there. And we also have a resonance. So let's pull in some resonance on that. Pull this high cut down here. You hear that resonance. Then we have an intensity, and this regulates how much effect the velocity has over the filter cutoff frequency. So you can always dial that up or down. And you might notice these little buttons right here. Click that, and now we have an effects animator for, in this case, the intensity. Change the speed here. Go through different presets, or of course draw in whatever shape that you want. Put this here. Sounds kind of cool. Of course, mess around with that however you want. Dial in that exact sound that you want. And over here, over our low cut, our high cut, and our volume is we have an LFO. So we can actually change the shape just by clicking our arrows there. Just go back here. Pop it on. Change the intensity of that, the fade in of it, and the speed of it here. You can change the way it re-triggers down here if you want it to. That sounds kind of cool. Of course, do the same thing for your low cut and of course for your volume if you want to add some sort of modulation to that volume. Then we have pan, which is pretty self-explanatory. We turn this resonance down there. If I want this core, take this off of solo. I want this core over to this side and this core over to that side. Of course, we know what pan does. Control click sets these knobs to the center, then attack and release. So if you wanted to sort of slide in and how quickly you want that note or that instrument to cut off after you release your note. So I release there, it cuts off real quick. You still hear some delay. That's because we have delay down here turned on, as you can see. All right, then we have velocity, and that determines how much influence input or step velocity has over the core's playback volume. So you can always adjust that. And also look up here in this information center. It'll give you a bit of an idea what each of these things do. And then we have energy, which is like a combination of compression and saturation and distortion to affect a specific core's sound. Just turn up the energy here. It's going to compress it, saturate it. If you're on a preset, a full instrument preset, which again covers all your 4 cores, your step sequencer, your effects, all that stuff, and you've made a bunch of changes and you don't like them, just click this button right here. That's going to reset that preset for you. So now we're right back to where we were. Of course, you can save your own presets right here, which is important to know because you're not going to find your presets up here in your snapshots like you do for some Kontakt instruments. Instead, you're going to find them right in here in the built-in preset manager. Now over here, we have an XY pad. This is pretty simple to figure out. Let me just play a chord or a note, whatever. I'll just hold on one note. Move this over here. And what we're doing here is blending in the amount of each of these that we want. So we can have it right in the middle, or we can just turn it off if we want. We can have it right in the middle to sort of get an overall blend of all of these. Move it to this side. Move it down here. Now in this case, there's nothing playing over here because I'm playing a note way down here, and we need to play up here to hear that one. Now you can also change your key maps here. So let me just solo this one here for now. And you'll see these 3 little dots. You're going to see these around the interface in certain places. Click that. Right here we can see our MIDI range. We can also see pitch shift and MIDI transpose. So let me just pitch this one down. Or up, of course. Change your MIDI transpose. As you can see, it moves there along the keyboard there. So now when I'm playing down here, not going to get anything. I have to play up here now. This, of course, works good for different key splits and things like that you might want to set up. Let me just set that back down there. Then we have our MIDI range. You can just click and drag in here to change the range, again, of what you want these notes to be. Again, set up your different key splits that you want. So I play up here, as you can see, nothing, play down here. And then, of course, the output. Now, you're going to have these outputs set up in Kontakt first. Otherwise, you're not going to see this here. So for those who don't know, head up here to this icon, come to outputs, and you can see I already have my multiple outputs set up right here. It's pretty simple to do. It might be a little confusing. Just hit the plus icon, and quantity is the number of actual tracks that you want. Number of channels, it sounds confusing, but 2 is probably what you want. 2 is a stereo channel, because that's the number of channels per track. So 2 channels is stereo. If you choose 1, that's going to be a mono track. If you choose more than 2, maybe you need a 5.1 track or something like that. You can take this all the way up, to whatever you want there. Choose OK. And right here, you can see that surround track was created. You can then click down here and change the actual outputs here from Kontakt. All right. So we're not actually going to use that channel. Let's just use one of these other channels that we have. So again, play a note. We know it's coming out of the main. Again, we can see that right there. Now I can switch this around to maybe coming out of 2. And now we can see it here in Kontakt, but we don't hear it, in our case, in Studio One, because we have to set that up. Now, this is going to depend on the exact DAW, that you're using. But what we could do is head to Mix and then make sure that we go ahead and expand this and then just enable track 2 right there. Then you're going to see that coming through. You're actually going to hear it. So this depends on the DAW that you are using. We can also do this, by the way, up here. We can just click this button here and choose different outputs. So for example, we'll just leave that going out of 2 for now. Let's go ahead and bring this sound in. Click our 3 dots. And for this, let's have this come out of stereo 3. We can see it in Kontakt. We don't hear it yet. Go ahead and enable that track right there. Then you'll see it right there. All right, so that is your multiple outputs. If you happen to want to put your own effects on, these different sound sources, these different cores, then that is how you could set it up. So then you can choose whatever effects you want, throw it right on each individual track like that. We already know we can click and drag to sort of get the different mix of our 4 cores here, but we can also use presets that are already set up here. So maybe choose this preset and then hit play. And then whenever I play a note or a chord or whatever, you can see that modulates for me. Of course, it's going to be different depending on the preset that you choose. You can also record your own preset motion here. So just record that, play a note, play whatever you want to play, and start dragging it around. And once this finishes one full sequence, then you can stop and then play that sequence back. You can have that modulation in there using your XY pad. You can also choose our 3 dots again, and we can learn this to knobs or sliders or something on your keyboard. You can also change your re-trigger time, which just means, is it going to restart as soon as you release a note and then press a note, or if you release a note and press a note when you have a delay on here, then the actual sequence for your XY will continue and it won't immediately re-trigger. Then you have, of course, your speed. So if I put this on ×2, and maybe I have it go backwards and forwards, do that there. Hit play on this here. It's much faster now, as you can see. And then we have a latch setting. Turn that on. I'm just going to press and release a note. It's going to continue playing. Press another note. And over here we have random and of course 3 dots again. So what the 3 dots are going to let us do is choose what do we want for our random settings. Okay. Do we want to include, our cores 1, 2, 3, and 4? Do we want to include or not include the step animator, the XY pattern, the master effects? All of these things you can choose to filter in or out. So this can be a cool way to come up with new sounds and things like that. Just turn that on there. Randomize all that. Maybe a couple times. Of course, we can always change our presets right up here. We can filter things however we want. So a detuned light, maybe a detuned lead. Come over here and change things. So if I just want to load the source or maybe just the step animator, the effects, maybe just show the favorites, we can filter things over here as well. Let's grab that one there, load it up. And that's our instrument preset. So it's all of our 4 cores. It's the step, it's the effects, master, all that stuff. Very synth kind of sound there. Take our filters off here. Maybe find something that's ambient and with a slow motion on that. Grab one here. If I want to, I can just come over here to the core and just change out these separate cores. So if I solo this one, if I don't like it, maybe just step through, change it. Same thing for your source. Change out just the source and change out just the step there. Now let's dig down a little bit to our effects, I guess. So the effects are pretty self-explanatory. We do have presets in here for your full effect chain as well. So change out the entire effects chain right here. Of course, use your arrows or just choose one, turn them on or off. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Use your down arrow here to change out the type of effect. Right now it's on a low cut here. Change that to a delay. Change it to a flanger, so on and so forth for all of your different effects. Turn off all of the effects right here. Solo just just this core. We have a sequence right here on these, which you can step through presets, or of course, draw in your own animation for some of your effects here as well. Then you have master effects, which of course are going to affect absolutely everything that's running through it. Whereas your effects, this is per core, this is the full master effects. Of course, there's presets for that in here as well. Now we'll head down to our step sequencer, our step page right here. So this one has 16 steps. I can change that just by clicking and dragging, change the amount of steps, change the speed, speed this up here to maybe 2. I can change the octave here. So let's just say -1. Take it up 2 octaves there. You have presets for note on, you have stutter, you have glide, stutter alternating, go to stutter here. Cool, stutter effect. And then velocity presets. So if I want this to be fixed to 127, you can see what that does there. Have a gator sort of style. Draw things in here however you want. Turn on these steps or turn them off. Let me make sure all of these are turned on there. I can change the resolution as well. So if I want this to be quarter dotted there, 16th, here's a 8th triplet. Set up whatever you want there. You also have information down here. So core 2, that's what we're on. Need to add a half, 16th, 196 to fill out the 2 bars. But let's head back here. Just click that pencil icon. And now we'll head back and really dig into this. So change the speed to half. Change this octave here to 2. You can change random velocity in here. A lot of stuff you can do just by stepping through. Of course, as I mentioned, you can always draw in your own shapes, change your resolutions on your own, and get exactly what you want. So let's go ahead and find one that sounds pretty good. And we'll grab that one there. And then down here, we can choose to take this forward, have it go backwards, have it go backwards and forwards. It's going to come back that way. Or we can choose the number of times we want it to repeat. So if I just want this to repeat once, even though I'm still holding down the note, it's going to go ahead and stop. So a lot of options here, of course. Dial in amount of swing you want, the arpeggio type. Change it to random there if you want, or down. Back on up. Turn on another step here. Sounds kind of cool. Maybe put this one here. Of course, head in here and just change up all of this stuff and get just the sort of sequence that you want. Now, once you get your sequence done, you can actually drag out that MIDI, which is pretty cool. So move this over here so we can actually see this. Right here, you're going to see a MIDI drag and drop. Make sure you turn that on. And we got sounds pretty cool. Let me just grab it right here. Just drop it right into your DAW. And then we can play it back here with Symphonic AI. Or, of course, play it back with any other instrument that I want. So here we have a palette from Red Room Audio. I can generate my MIDI over here in Symphonic AI, drag it out, and use it with whatever other library that I want. Of course, change the articulation here. Pretty cool. You can also copy and paste, things. I can copy this. I can, paste stuff into other cores real easily, like that. Let's go through some more presets here. We'll just use the arrows right there. Next one. Let's grab one more here. And of course, what you would do if you want to use Symphonic AI for all of your sounds, you just go through, have several instances of this in Kontakt, different tracks here, different MIDI tracks. And you can, of course, build up your entire, your entire score, your entire cinematic, symphonic, orchestral score using just Symphonic AI, and really using just a few notes if you want to use a lot of these sequencers here. So I don't want that sequencer on there. Do that. I can just play that in myself. Grab one more. Pressing single notes here. Holding down two notes, that's it. Add a third.